Save the Semantics, episode 45. It is October 26, 2018. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on about things that are going on in my life, question mark, or things that I'm currently thinking about, maybe want to talk about. You know? Just whatever's on mind. Unscripted, as always. Sometimes it's scripted. No, that's not true. It's sometimes semi-scripted. When I have a particular topic, such as the last episode, where I talked a little bit about TikTok, semi-scripted. I had some things written down, but it wasn't necessarily like, there wasn't a certain set of things that I had written down for me to say in a particular order or anything like that. No, I just had some things written down. So yeah, unscripted, as always. Halloween is coming up. Certainly doesn't really feel like it with this weather. It always just goes back to the weather. If there's nothing to talk about, just talk about the weather. It's true. Even just in like a regular conversation or whatever, there's nothing. There's just sort of this awkward silence. And I've talked about this, how I don't really believe in awkward silences. But when there is that moment of silence between two people who are having a conversation, right? Let's talk about the weather. Bang, you got something to talk about. Then you go off of that. Something along those lines, anyway. Halloween is coming up. I haven't really dressed for Halloween in the last, I gotta say, 2 years or so. It's been a while since I've actually tried to do something. And I thought about maybe dressing up this Halloween. Just maybe, Probably not dressing up on campus, because the majority of people at the university, most people don't dress up. Most people just dress like they normally do. University sweatshirt, sweatpants if they just got out of bed, that kind of thing. But I don't. Maybe if it's for like the later festivities, whatever those may be, I might dress up. I don't know. I just remember I just think from what I remember, the last 2 Halloweens have just been pretty insignificant. I think I didn't really do shit, and maybe I would this year. I think one of the things that sort of turns me off about it is just there's always like, at least from like my sort of perspective, it really doesn't matter, whether you dress up or not. It's just how you think people are going to perceive of you when you do dress up. Like, are they going to look down on you? That's sort of how my thought process went when I, as like time went along. I mean, now it's like, okay, I just don't really dress up, or I haven't dressed up because I just don't really felt the need to. I don't know what exactly I would dress up as, This year, I'm still kind of on the fence for it, It might be too late, because I bet most people already have, like, their costume planned. Me and a couple of friends, we went to Spirit of Halloween, and we just kind of looked through what they had for selection. I never went into that store, so it was kind of fun just going through what they had to offer. There's a lot of Fortnite shit, of course. Some other weird costumes. It's always funny looking at the models that pose with the costumes. It's just so funny just thinking about like how they got that gig, and it's not as funny, but thinking of how much they got paid to wear that costume, I wonder if they ever get recognized by like their friends, It's like, did you dressed up as like Pickle Rick, right? And it's just funny to think about how they get those gigs. If all things fail for me in whatever career path that I may be going on, maybe I'll just model as like a costume, as like a Halloween costume. And then we'll see where that goes from there. Anyways, just going through the selection and thinking about what I may want to do was like, do I want to do something creepy? I don't like creepy costumes. If I were to wear them, I wouldn't wear a creepy costume because it just doesn't feel like me. It just doesn't feel me. It doesn't embody my essence. No, I just don't like appearing as like, a sadistic clown and shit. There's a lot of clown costumes, goddamn. They're really honing in on like clowns as being like the scariest thing, and they are, because it's just unsettling, the clown makeup and shit. So there's a lot of those, but I was I was sort of thinking about being like a geisha, one because I'm Japanese and it's sort of like it's like kind of like a funny sort of like cross-dressing type of thing where I dress up as like a female hostess. For those who don't know what a geisha is, it's like a hostess at like a male, like a drinking. If you just look it up, you'll see what I mean. But there was a thing more in, not like medieval Japan. That's not right. Am I right? I don't know. It was during like the Shogun era when they still existed. They had sort of like they're kind of like they kind of existed within like a brothel house sort of setting. Anyways, that's sort of what I wanted to possibly dress up as, but I don't know if I will. I looked at the costume price; it was like $35. I'm like, that's not worth the cost. I'm gonna wear it once and then just toss it later. It's like it's like a dress, or like just like a nice. It's like a thing that you just wear once and it's gone. So yeah, that's coming around the corner. I don't know. I'm still pretty undecided on whether I'm going to commit to dressing up or not, but we'll see for that. I've noticed, just going on to like a different subject entirely. Like I said, weather, weather's really nice right now. It's about like 70s, mid 70s, I think. I've definitely like noticed, and I've talked with some other people about, like seasonal depression being like a pretty big thing, and just how much like the mood swings, like from fall to winter, and because like there's always like a thing where like I've mentioned, the school I go to splits up the school year into quarters, fall, winter, spring, summer, and there's always kind of like a running, not like a running joke, but sort of like a running theme of how people in winter depression or winter quarter just go through like a series of just tumultuous mood swings, and there's just sort of this atmosphere that people don't really want to be there, and they're just going through shit, and I've definitely felt that for sure. It's really like it feels pretty significant for me at least. Like, where we are, it's pretty solid weather, So when there's like a dip in quality, it's pretty noticeable. I don't know how people in places like Seattle or just places where it's always like cloudy and shit, London, I just wonder how they feel, Do they deal with like seasonal depression? I'm just wondering, because over here it's very noticeable for sure. And I've sort of noticed it with myself as well. The last 2 years, like it's always like I'm like I prepare myself for it, even because I've talked with, like, when I was a freshman, I talked with upperclassmen, and I was just sort of talking about just things and what they've done in their college path, and they always talk about how there's always like this dip in quality and sort of dealing with just like the winter season and academics and all that. And I prepared myself for it, but I'm still always caught off guard because I'm like, oh shit, I don't. And then once that quarter is done and once I get out of it, I'm like, wow, I was pretty miserable for like certain periods of time through the winter, I guess. I always was like, at least I tried to be more like, tried to say that winter was my favorite time of the year, mainly because it's the holidays. That's like the biggest draw to winter, I'd say, just the holidays. I'd even count like Thanksgiving as a part of like winter, because that's when like the weather really starts to cool down. At least that's usually when the weather cools down. I don't know about this year. We'll see about that. But I think it's yeah, like I've just mentioned, it's definitely noticeable just seeing like the change in like people's attitudes and behaviors and stuff like that, and my own, and just how I feel, you know. I think the like last year winter quarter was pretty just rough in general for me. I just was not in like a good mindset. I wasn't doing things that I normally enjoyed. I feel I also was sick too. That was a big thing. I was sick for like 2 months. It was fucking miserable. And I think partially it was due to the fact that I didn't get a flu shot. That was a dumbass mistake. Get your flu shot. You know, you should. Even if you think it's like, even if people say, you know, studies say that the vaccine isn't as effective as like a previous years, you should still get it, you know. And there might be side effects, right? There might be some side effects. There's a potential like allergic side effect that you might get. Don't quote me on this. Just do your research. But I'm just saying there's possible side effects. But I think those side effects are, I doubt they're as bad as being sick with like the flu. And I don't think I had the flu, but I was just sick as fuck, you know? So I decided, you know, I didn't get a flu shot because I was lazy. It's the worst mistake. It's not even because, like, I believe, you know, I'm like an anti-vaxxer. I'm not. I don't believe in that shit. It's like the most dumb, like, paranoia bullshit going around today because, I don't know, people are just scared of just putting things in their bodies, which I understand, but I understand that fear, but I also don't understand like the paranoia. Like I'm paranoid. I'm definitely a paranoid dude, but if it's like gonna keep me from, I don't know, being miserable, even if I do feel miserable, like less, just the likelihood decreasing of me potentially dying from a sickness, you know? I'd rather just take that chance, you know? There's people who are in that field that specialize in that kind of thing, who've dedicated pretty much a significant portion of their lives to learning how vaccines and treating people work. You know, their job is to keep people alive, right? It's not like they don't have, I don't, some, you know, some doctors and some medical professionals have, you know, ulterior motives. You know, they skim off people's money and shit like that. And I get that there's people out there, but I feel like the majority of people out there are doing it because, you know, it's just what they're interested in, and they genuinely care about treating people and shit. So like I think it would be sort of disingenuous to disregard their perspective and their knowledge, you know. So take a flu shot, you know, so you're not going to be sick for 2 months like I was last year. It was terrible. It was so bad. It's just like, it was just me being like complacent and lazy and just not going. It was so close by too, you know, like there's, you know, I could just gone to any pharmacy or like, you know, just anywhere close by. There were multiple places giving out flu shots. I just completely like drove past it and like disregarded it. I was thinking of getting it too. I just didn't get it because I was lazy. It's the worst excuse. It's just, oh, I just didn't get it. God, get your flu shot, people. Especially going into like now, before like cold weather starts to hit and people are getting sick and shit. So stay healthy. Drink water too, you know. Even if it makes you piss a lot, drink a lot of water. There's something else that I kind of wanted to talk about. I always go back to like social media and shit like that, mainly because that's like the one thing that I'm relatively aware of. I could talk about just like medicine and shit, but I have no, like, as always, I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to those kinds of things. So I'll just go back into like social media, TV and shit like that. I've definitely speaking of like unhappiness, I've definitely noticed that I just don't, when I'm sort of waiting for shit to happen, if I'm like trying to kill time and I'm on my phone, I just go into like this headspace where I'm just like, I could be doing something else and shit like that. I hate like waiting, but also feeling unproductive at the same time. I like having, I do like having time to myself and killing time with just doing mundane, mindless shit, watching TV and whatnot. But when it comes to like, if I'm like waiting for something to happen, like say if I'm like at a doctor's office, or if I'm just waiting for an appointment and I have to kill time with my phone, that is just that might be one of the worst feelings. And I know I'm highly exaggerating and sort of like a hyperbole, but just for me personally, there are far worse shit. There's far worse things out there that can make you feel unhappy and miserable. But I don't know. Just like in terms of just like a mundane and pretty normal thing, that just makes me miserable. Yeah, I just need to be doing something else that makes me feel like I'm being like productive, as opposed to like sitting down and waiting. That is like the worst feeling, and I'm sure some of you feel the same way. It's just I just don't like I don't mind waiting. I just don't like waiting while doing something that is just completely mindless and does nothing. I need to have just like multiple things on deck. I need to like carry around a book or something. I haven't been reading at all too, so I haven't really fulfilled that goal that I set forth like a few episodes back. I don't know. It's just kind of hard to like get back into that. But just waiting on your phone or something like that is just like kind of terrible from my perspective anyway. I just need to be like doing something else, I guess, right? It's just you sort of, I hate going into like that argument like you're turning off your brain when you're doing stuff like that, but you kind of are in a sense, right? You're turning off your brain to do that sort of thing. And you're just not productive, I guess. I think that's sort of one of the reasons why I haven't like really. I used to love watching basketball. Like coming home and watching like a basketball game was like the highlight of my day. At least it used to be, and now it's completely different. It's just I haven't watched a single NBA game this season. It's crazy. I just haven't even it's like I just haven't sat down and like watched the game. I just haven't really felt like it. I feel like other mediums or other forms of entertainment are just more engaging. Even like some YouTube videos can be more engaging than like basketball. I don't know. I think it's because like I've seen just enough games to the point where I'm like, this game is either going to go this way or it's going to go this way. Like there's, if you want to watch like the crazy, the highlights, you can just wait until the end of the game until they compile the highlights into something that's like very easy to consume. And I think this like goes for like other sports as well. I've never really been a big fan of just any other sport, I guess. I mean, I like soccer, but baseball or football, I've never really been a big fan of those. So it didn't really matter to me. But like even basketball now, which is like, it used to be one of my favorite sports, and I guess it still is. I'm just not as engaged as I was before. I used to play it throughout middle school and a little bit of high school until I realized that I sucked ass and I just wasn't good enough. So I picked up something else. So I think just like I still enjoy watching it too. I think I just can't watch it by myself, I think. Or I just really need to be in a setting where there's like crowd reaction or being with friends where they're engaged as well. I think that's just sort of how I have to be. I just have to be in that kind of setting. And it's not like sports are just not great for solo entertainment now, at least. I think it's just part of just getting older, I guess. So that's kind of that. But I just think like sitting like I can't even really like. Some people say like you can multitask when you watch a sport, like keeping in the background as background noise, but it's just I can't really. It's just hard for me to do that. You know, it's much easier to do that sort of thing with like another podcast. Like I felt like I listen to like another podcast and I do homework and I study. I can do that, but I can't watch like a game and study at the same time because like a game just requires a certain amount of attention. I think it's just more like it's like a kickback viewing. It's sort of like the stereotypical grab some friends, grab some beers, and watch a game sort of thing. And I think that's sort of what I'm like leaning towards now. So yeah, that's that. No real point to that. I just don't watch basketball anymore. I mean, I will. It's just I don't watch it as frequently, I guess. I don't know what my point was. I don't know what my original. I forgot where I was originally heading with that, but that's just how I am right now. Anyways, that's probably going to do it for the podcast today. I'm getting a new microphone, by the way, so we'll see how that's going to turn out. Just a small little lapel microphone. We'll see if that is going to improve the quality. It should. Maybe not drastically, but even just a little bit of, I guess, background noise cancellation would be kind of nice. So yeah, that's probably going to do it for today. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.